So tonight, my dad, he obviously is not on Zoom. He doesn't really do the computer thing very much. He was born in 1934. He's about the smartest guy I've ever met, and he and my mom have been married. Have just celebrated their 66th anniversary. So it's a happy anniversary for my mom and dad. And so I thought I would tell another story about my dad. He is right now getting better. He's in the hospital, and I visited him last night, and I told him, I said, Dad, I'm going to tell a story about you tomorrow. Is that okay? And he said, absolutely. And he said, they've got a bed for you right down the hall. So I have to be really nice whenever I talk about my daddy, because my daddy is just a big giant of a man. And what happened, and honest to goodness, it's true. I've got witnesses of my wife and my sister and mom and daddy. So if you're ever in Bristol, if you ever come to East Tennessee, stop by, see my mom and daddy in downtown Holston Valley. Daddy's still the mayor, and he'll tell you the story himself. Now, it won't be as complimentary my way as I am to him, but he'll be glad to sit on the porch and tell you the story. So a few years ago, I had gone to Walmart. I'm getting to be a certain age and a little bit of vanity kicking in, and I bought me a pair of clippers. And I think they were probably, if I'm not mistaken, the best clippers that Walmart had that evening, and they were probably about $15, and that's a lot of walking around money in Northeast Tennessee. But I had it, and I splurged, and I got these clippers. I carried them home, and I trimmed up my eyebrows, and I went down to see Mom and Daddy. And Mom and Daddy was at my sister's house. We all live from where I live here in Tennessee. They're about maybe 1/10 of a mile away from me. So after I got all dolled up and looking what I thought was fairly fresh and good, I went down to see Mom and Daddy and my sister. So we was all sitting there, and I looked at Dad, and I said, Daddy, I said, we've got to do something about them eyebrows. He had these, this is the only way I can describe it. He had these circa 1934 eyebrows. They hadn't been trimmed, plucked, pulled, combed, nothing since like 1934. They had their own zip code, you know. And this is why Daddy's got a hospital bed waiting on me, because of this part right here. So I said, Dad, let me run home real quick. Won't take me 2 minutes. Let me run home and grab my clippers. I'd been talking about them. I said, I'll come back and I'll fix you up and you'll look good like I do. And to my surprise, now, my daddy said, all right. Now, you have to understand, let me break here just for a minute. You have to understand that this is a big deal coming from my daddy. Now, like I said, my dad was born in 1934. And he's got a steel rod for a backbone. I mean, he's just a man's man, you know. His shadow goes for 15 feet, and just an amazing person. So I run home right quick, and I was just thrilled. And I got my clippers, you know, and I zipped back down to my sister's house. And Daddy was sitting there at the kitchen table, you know, like a throne room or something. And he said, "What are we going to do this?" And I said, "Well, the best light in the house is in the bathroom." So I walked Daddy to the bathroom, and I set him down put down the lid and set him on the commode. And my daddy looked up at me like this, you know, and he was just, and he wears his hair slicked back. Now, I told a story in Georgia, Canute, about a truck and Daddy wearing hair oil and whatnot. And this is more evidence or proof to that. So Daddy was sitting there on the commode, and the light was perfect. It was just, you couldn't have asked for better circumstances. And Daddy was looking up at me, and it almost like a cherub. I mean, like childlike. And I took those clippers and flipped them on, and I said, "Now, Daddy, hold still." And I laid the clippers up against his first eyebrow, and I come across, and I want to tell you, Michelangelo couldn't have drawn a better eyebrow on my daddy. It looked perfect. And Daddy said, "How's it look?" I said, "It looks perfect, Dad. Now hold still." And so we still had this, and then we had like this. I went to the other side. Now, it was hot. It was summertime. Hot, and my daddy had been sweating a little bit. A little hair oil, had come down. And that eyebrow, only thing I could figure was greased right smart bit. And I went to lay that clipper up there, and I promise y'all, I never said a word. There are 24 people, counting me, I guess, on this chat. I want to tell every one of you, as sure as I'm sitting here, I never said a word to my dad. I didn't cause his reaction. I laid the clipper just like I did over here. I laid it right here. My daddy has this thing that he can do with his eyebrows, and he can do like this, and his eyebrows will go, they disappear into his hairline. I laid the clippers right here to work my magic, the same as I did over here. And Daddy looked up at me and he went, huh? There's nothing wrong with my internet connection. I just want to pause for a minute and let y'all get this. My daddy went, huh? And there was dead silence. The only thing you could hear was if you heard that much. So I looked down, sitting on the commode, my precious little daddy. One side of his face looked slightly annoyed. One side of his face was totally surprised, and it was slick as a peeled onion. That eyebrow was gone. Gone, gone. There was absolutely nothing there, just hide. I mean, it was just a little bit of skin. And I smiled at my dad. What do you want to do? And I looked down, and honest to God, sure as I'm sitting in Holston Valley, Tennessee, I looked down, and Daddy's complete rose oil gelled eyebrow was on the toe of my shoe, looking up at me. And I turned around like the coward that I am, and I run out of that bathroom to the kitchen where my wife was at. And she said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I have shaved off my daddy's eyebrow." You don't know that kind of panic, y'all. Daddy had had time to get up off of the commode, look at himself straight on in the mirror. One eyebrow was like this. The other one was just, he had that expression on that side, but there was no eyebrow there. I don't think he realized the gravity of the situation. And I was panicking, and I hear my dad, and like I said, my daddy cast a shadow for 10 feet. My daddy was coming down the hall towards the kitchen, and I was preparing my last will and testament on a piece of paper. I was dead. I was a dead man walking. As soon as I turned to face my daddy, my sister's kitchen door opened up, and there, an angel without wings, there stood my precious little mama. Mama stepped through the door. She didn't know any of this was going on. Me and Daddy was going to surprise her with the eyebrow thing. She's about to be real surprised. Daddy huffed up to me. Just run up on me like this. And he's staring at me. Well, one eyebrow is staring at me like real hateful, and one eyebrow is just slick as my cheek. And he's looking at me, and Mom walked and got between us. God bless her. She looked at me, and she looked up at Daddy, and Mama's a little bitty woman. She looked up at Daddy, and she took his head in her hands like this. She turned that one good eyebrow around, and she looked at it, and she kindly nodded, and she turned that other one around, and it looked like a peeled egg, just slick. And then she looked at me, and she said, "I got to take him to the heart doctor in the morning. I want you to know I appreciate this." At the end of the day, here's what I learned from this true life experience. You can have the very best equipment that Walmart sells. I had it. You can be in the very best work situation. I had him in the best seat in the house. Anybody would agree with that. He was sitting on the commode under the best light. I had a willing subject. This is one of the first times in my life that me and Dad had agreed on personal grooming. And still, something can go wrong through no fault of your own. Your daddy might want to kill you, but your mama's always going to love you. That's my story. And Canute, I thank you so much.